Is Silicon Valley pretending to be woke? And you could apply this to other companies as well, perhaps. And I don't think this is as simple as puppet masters at the top pulling the strings and being white supremacists or just not caring or just wanting to make a profit. And companies should just want to make a profit. They shouldn't be woke. It's completely irrelevant. Unless being woke helps you make a profit, which sometimes it may do. Sometimes it may have the opposite effect. But I don't mean as a secret board who's decided to pretend to be woke and they're not at all woke. This is a multifaceted thing. But if you look at say Google, they've done very unwoke things. They employ lots of white and Asian men as coders because most good coders are white and Asian men in the US. That's just a fact. There's not many women want to code given a free choice. That's not sexism, that's just a free choice. Women and men have different interests on average. All of the scientific literature proves this. This isn't even a debatable point. Women don't like coding on average. Black people don't have the socioeconomic background to be good at quoting. You need to not be a criminal and to stay in education generally to be good at coding. But this makes Google look very unwoke, which paints a target on their forehead. So what do? Well, it would make sense for them to pretend to be woke, to shout woke things really loudly while they're union smashing. Because really what Google wants, what any successful company wants, all they should want is to make a profit. But that can look bad. So what's a possible remedy to that? Being just as money grabbing, but pretending to care about things like social justice. So when Larry Page, on that infamous secretly filmed post-2016 US election video, when he said, "I'm deeply offended because I'm an immigrant and Trump, something immigrants." Firstly, completely illogical statement. Trump said he didn't want rapists coming from Mexico. What the fuck's that got to do with you, Larry Page? Nothing. Trump said he doesn't want illegal immigrants coming from Mexico. Well, I could see why you wouldn't like that, because you want a cheap maid in your house or something. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It's illogical to be against Trump for that reason. But to scream loudly about it and say, yay, trans, anyone who feels a bit gay when they're a kid should have their dick chopped off and become a woman. Saying that kind of thing, which is where the left is going at the moment. A trans male to quote unquote female spoke at that event in a lovely muumuu and didn't look very convincing, no makeup, didn't really look like a woman, they were trans. And of course they just whinged about some trans issues, blah, blah, blah. Painting yourself in a shield of extreme wokeness as a business strategy in order to deflect the criticisms of the rabid, insane far left. It's a strategy you could use, especially when you're in a such a dumb state as California. And I say dumb in terms of what is the socially acceptable culture that's taken over that state. Clearly there's a lot of smart people there. Clearly there's a lot of smart people in Silicon Valley. Probably most of the smart people, though, aren't extreme leftists. Probably most of the smart people are somewhere around the centre left, centre right. So why is California left wing? Well, there's been a big chunk of California that's extreme left wing because of dumb, incorrect, morally bankrupt, extremist. Terrorist training camps like Berkeley University. Just the whole university system there has been infiltrated and taken over by extreme leftists. So it's become socially unacceptable to have any views that are sane, that are logical, that are rational. You have to have insane far left views if you go to these universities, or you'll get kicked out. So that has two effects. One, it means that anyone who's not far leftist doesn't speak up. And what effect does that have? Well, actually, some people, or a lot of kids at these universities do get indoctrinated. And then a lot of kids at these universities go and work in Silicon Valley or stay in the States. So it becomes a self-fulfilling brainwashing cycle of dumbness and stupidity. And so you get a lot of the smart people there pretending they're extreme leftists when they're just centre leftists, centrists, and some of them are right wing. Because intelligent people tend not to be extreme left or extreme right. They tend to congregate around the centre, or the radical centre, for example, but not the extreme left or the extreme right. That's just fucking dumb. Obviously, there's good ideas on the left and the right. It's just stupid to be that extreme. The breeding ground for this nonsense is Silicon Valley. And when you use the tactic that Google, Facebook, and other companies there may be using, which I think is quite likely, I'd say they're probably, to some extent, they're doing this. When you use these fake tactics, when you pretend to be super woke, when you pretend to think Trump is racist for not wanting illegal immigrant mass murderer and gangs to come in from Mexico, which is what he was referring to when he was talking about Mexico not sending their best. He was talking about mass murdering gangs who kill babies. If you believe that Trump was being racist when he said that, you're either a moron or you're being dishonest. Is Larry Page a moron? Probably not. So, he's lying about thinking Trump's racist and Trump winning the election somehow being an emergency for immigrants. How have immigrants' lives got worse under Trump? Maybe some illegal immigrants have been deported, but they have no legal right to be in the country anyway. So that's good. That's just a win all round. If you want immigrants, do it legally. It's better for everyone. Illegal immigration is not good for anyone. That should be stopped. That's unless you don't believe in countries or laws. So yeah, the effect of Silicon Valley using this fake shield is more people get indoctrinated. A lot of morons, like people low down in these companies, people in HR in these companies, people doing make work jobs in these companies, not the developers, people doing admin, HR, just bullshit jobs at Google with huge salaries. These morons get taken in. These morons get super indoctrinated. Think about it as if Google was in Germany in the 1930s, and as an expedient measure to make more profits, it instead of it cloaking itself in a shield of social justice, it cloaked itself in a shield of Nazism. That seems really bad, doesn't it? Well, it's just as bad what Google is doing now. Sure, when the Nazis first came to power, it probably didn't seem that bad in Germany either. Doesn't social justice? Wow, it's not a big deal, is it? Straight white men getting systematically discriminated against at university, and in any job they try to apply to, and in any government position. Oh, we can't have a straight white male candidate for president. No, that's they're the Dalit untouchable class. We need a black woman of power and black woman of colour in there forever. We cannot have a straight white man because, as we know, the United States was founded by black women of colour, trans black women of colour founded the United States. The musical Hamilton gets this wrong. Hamilton has it as black men founding the United States. It was actually black women of disabled albino colour that founded the US. This is just a historical fact. You should know this. How do you not know this? It's just we're already walking. This seems ridiculous. We're already walking down this road. When you have companies controlling, not just controlling what we search for now, Google has already changed history in its search engine. Google is changing truth, science, and reality. You search for men space can space on Google. It says have periods, look after kids, be stay-at-home dads. That's the stuff at the top. When you suppose when you look up women space can space, it says be drafted, be CEO. Google is, of course, those things are sometimes true. Women normally can't be drafted, and they're normally not sent to very dangerous places when they are, with very few exceptions. Yeah, women can be CEO, but way less than men. And no, men cannot have periods, and they cannot give birth, and they generally don't want to stay home and look after kids. And women don't. The women that they have kids with don't want them to stay home and look after kids either. Primarily, women want to do that because men and women are not the same. And if other couples want to do different things, fine, that's up to them, but that's just generally not the case. Sorry, reality doesn't fit your ideology. What a shame. But as we can see, Google is already changing the history. Google's already shown that it wants to rewrite history and change reality. It's already doing it now. Do you think this is going to get better or worse? It's possible that kids born in 100 years will think the US was founded by trans, lesbian, black women of colour, that the only slaves ever taken in history were white men, taken as slaves by other white men, and secretly used by the all-powerful black women, with some black men allowed to have sex with them. This will be the history that, if you just look up any history on Google, this will be what it returns. You look up straight couples on Google now, it returns gay couples. Like, what the fuck? Google can control your mind, basically, and it's already doing it. And it's this fake shield of wokeness that's doing it. But again, another problem of covering yourself in this fake wokeness shield is that you end up employing lots of real moronic extreme leftists. The people that are making these have made the decisions to return incorrect information. Look up famous physicists. I don't know if it still does this. Google was returning this at one point. Loads of black dudes came up. I don't think there's one famous black physicist in history who's done notable things. There's that one dude who did that Cosmos show now. He seems cool, but it's very rare to get a black physicist. That's just, you're not returning reality. You're returning propaganda. Google is a propaganda machine. It's a social engineering tool. It's a brainwashing tool. This is stuff from 1984. This isn't stuff that free societies should have. I think we need laws to prevent Google from doing this. Google should return the truth. Should return what is as close to the truth as possible. You return, you look up physicists, it should return Nobel Prize winners, say. Should return people that are generally accepted as the best physicists in history. Just this shit is everywhere. There's this classical music app called Adagio. Unfortunately, there's never been a female great composer. There are hundreds of great male composers. But Adagio, again, been infiltrated by extreme leftists. Female composers are shit, sorry. They're just shit. They're just mediocre. If you look at recommended composers in their app, at least 20 to 30% of them are women that they've put in there because they acknowledge women as shit and they need special treatment in order to get amongst the best composers who ever lived, men. Bigotry of low expectations. They're being sexist. So once you start embracing this nonsense, these actual moronic, low IQ, extreme leftists, they get into your company like cancer, and they start actually doing shit. And once you let them in, you can't go back on this fake shit. As you saw with Larry Page, I think he's faking. He may or may not be. As you saw with Larry Page, Larry Page couldn't go out there and say, Trump's fine. It's not that bad. What would happen? There'd be a wholesale revolt at your company. Now, it probably wouldn't matter much because most of these idiots with this ideology are doing make-work bullshit jobs in HR and PR and admin or whatever anyway. So if all the wokeists left, who gives a fuck, really? But it would get them some bad headlines. So Larry Page has to go out there and he has to pretend to be upset by Trump. I mean, and he's probably lying to himself at this point. It's probably he's acting. He's method acting. He's almost talked himself into the fact Trump is that bad. Trump just isn't that bad. It just isn't. What's he done that's that bad? Nothing. So yeah, the problem is once you start using this shield, and this is highly immoral. Not that companies have any responsibility to be moral; they only have a responsibility to follow the law and make a profit. But if in so doing, you're exposing your company, the heart of your company, to cancerous, toxic, far left, scientifically incorrect, moronic ideas like intersectionality, once they get into the heart of your company, you are fucked, and Google is fucked. But now where does this road go? Well, now this cancer's in the heart of Google. They start changing. They start propagandizing. Google is just a propaganda machine, like the Nazi propaganda machine. I'm not exaggerating. They are not giving you the truth. They're telling you things they know not to be true for justifications that aren't real. Why do you show black physicists? Well, physicists would all be black were it not for slavery. There's just no evidence that's true. There's no slavery now. Where are the black physicists now? Could it be because IQ and race seem to skew to blacks having the lowest IQ on average? Could be a factor. Black people could be a master race athletically. That black men, on average, have higher testosterone, more dense bones. This isn't even close. Taller. This isn't even close. This is massive differences. This would also explain the higher black prison population. High testosterone makes you aggressive. But if you look at intellectual elites, physicists, Nobel Prize winners, very high achievers in non-athletic pursuits, they tend to be, these skew with IQ as well. Primarily Jewish, Asian, and to some extent whites. Whites are in the middle in both of those. These are things that seem to make sense. These are things we should be able to discuss. And these are things worth discussing. Why? Well, for example, if black people underachieve at university, but on average they're just less intelligent, that would explain why, wouldn't it? If on average they're not less intelligent, then we'd have to look for other reasons, such as racism. If we want to actually identify genuine racism and fix it, we need to know why things happen, such as different races going to university at different rates. We need to know why that is, don't we? And IQ is an important factor in that. The only reason you'd want to prevent study of it is if you think the study is biased, and we should make sure it isn't, or if you want to hide the truth somehow. And the left is just all about hiding the truth at this point, isn't it? So, yeah, is Silicon Valley fake woke? It would certainly make sense for them to be, because it can deflect a lot of the criticisms aimed at them. Election meddling, allowing fake ads to run on their platform from whichever side you think is a fake ad. It's manipulating the truth. There's very serious accusations against Silicon Valley companies. This is a great way to say, oh, but look over there, we're so woke. Look, woke, well, we've got all these moronic blue hairs in our company. These moronic, low IQ, useless people that don't actually do any fucking work in the heart of our company. Look at them. Aren't they great? They've got blue hair and they're fat. They've got really jiggly arms. Look at this. Don't look at all the shit we're actually doing. Don't look at the way we're manipulating data, or the way we could rig any election we fucking want, or we've got way too much power, or the way we're exploiting kids to play games like Facebook was. Just ignore that. Look over here at our blue hairs. Look how woke we are with this woke speech we just did. Sorry, Silicon Valley, no one fucking believes this shit. And you're making it worse. Because the danger of actually embracing this and using this as a cloak is these people take over your company from the inside out and you're powerless to do anything about it. And I think that's already begun. Silicon Valley is fake woke, and it's if wokeism completely takes over Google, within well under 100 years, within 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, Google will be telling us black, disabled, trans women of colour won the War of Independence in the US. They were the first to arrive in the US. They ended slavery. They never used slaves, and they also ended slavery. And they came from Wakanda. And white men have always been slaves, and white men should now be slaves. They should be the Dalit class. They should be at the bottom of every list of job candidates. They should get paid less money for the same job. They should be forced to say every morning at school, I am a bad white man. I repent for the sins of my race and my gender. White men have only been evil in perpetuity in society. This is shit wokeists want now. They want white male slavery now. This is what they want. They are racist and sexist against white men. This isn't me ranting some bullshit. This is specifically what intersectionality says. And intersectionality is now at the heart of every major corporation, government, and school system, including universities. Intersectionality has taken over all of these institutions. Intersectionality thinks straight white men are the slave, Dalit, untouchable class that should be systematically discriminated against. Everything I just said is a fact. The house is on fire and no one fucking knows about it. And I realize this sounds like some crazy conspiracy theory, but it's obvious. I mean, you know this is happening. You see it everywhere. There needs to be a fight back. There need to be political candidates who will say they're going to roll this back. There need to be business leaders who say no. So we're not doing this discrimination. We're going to ensure we have a completely unbiased hiring policy, for example. We are not going to discriminate against anyone. It's not only is it immoral to use a woke cloak to defend your profit-making business, I think it's bad for business. And when I say immoral, yes, companies don't have any obligation to be moral, but to do something this immoral, it's pushing it a bit far, and it's also just bad for business because these twats. These low IQ, blue hair, jiggly arm, moronic fucking dicks, they're going to ruin your company. And they're possibly going to ruin humanity. We're on a very, very dangerous trajectory now. And it has to end. Again, if you work at any big tech, blow the whistle.
This was the Deviant Developer Podcast. Tap subscribe in any podcast app to never miss an episode. To contact me or make a welcome donation, go to thedeviantdeveloper.com.